There's a lot of planets moving from Capricorn to Aquarius. It's all the personal planets. And then when they enter Aquarius, they're forming a conjunction, moving right over Pluto, right? And in transits like this, where you've got like a lot of stuff stacked up and they're all passing over a major outer planet, we dealt with this a lot a couple of years ago at the end of 2024 and into 2025. And that experience can be, it can feel a lot like hanged man energy. It can feel a lot like we're just waiting for a ball to drop, or we're waiting for something to come through, we're waiting for something to come to fruition. And it really doesn't help that Neptune and Saturn are moving into Aries pretty soon here. There is a lot of waiting for something to like get a backbone or be born, or kind of something to blossom. I'm seeing like a flower blossoming, and you like really need that to blossom, or you're like anticipating like what color is it going to be, or how big is it going to be, or something like this. What's the answer going to be? And so I wanted to do a reading to hopefully give a little bit of insight on that for you, but I'm actually feeling called to this deck, which is interesting. Let's see what they have. This is the Supra deck by Uzi. Let's see what comes up. I'm hearing 3 cards. What can the collective anticipate following this series of transits in their personal lives? So we have water. Oh, wow. Okay. Synchronicity at the bottom of the deck. Water, nothing. And then this card, which is just about being, right? That's so interesting. Whenever the nothing card comes out, I'm like, literally give us nothing, you know? Why nothing? Can I get a little bit more about that? So it's like, oh, okay, so maybe 3 of Swords. Maybe there's an ending, you know? An ending that, well, synchronicity though too, this is really indicative of like anything that transpires, anything that ends or wraps up is very much so required for something bigger, right? So we have the Hermit and then the Ace of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Yeah, so what is it ultimately leading to, right? What is this nothing making space for? The being card, if you see this kind of like the spiral outward, this is about something unfurling or coming into existence. So what is coming to existence? Let's just keep going. What is coming to existence? Okay. See, and that's what I like. We've got that water element here. Tell me more. Something that you really need to leave behind. The Fool, the 4 of Cups, the 2 of Wands, the Lovers, 1 card face down. Got the King of Wands, the World at the bottom of the deck, if we didn't already know that, and the Magician. Under the World is the Empress. Hell yeah. So, yeah, there's definitely something that you're moving on here, that you're moving on from here, and it seems to be a much more empowered move. It seems to be something that, you know, and we're also thinking about the amount of time, prior to, this is one of those rare readings. I suppose it could be timeless, but I am correlating it to the current transit. So, take it as it resonates, right? It could resonate for you at any time, but I am thinking, you know, this is the time span from now. I'm recording this on the evening of Monday, January 19th, until like the end of January and into like the end of February, when Saturn and Neptune enter Aries, because that's really a large part of what we are. That's when the backbone forms, you know, that's when things like hit the ground, right? We've been stuck in this like uncertainty and lack of clarity and this finalization that's felt really, really long and drawn out. And here we have this indication of movement, right? It's that final shed, as we've been hearing with this new moon in Capricorn, that final shed, that if usually, I heard a creator say this, so I'm going to quote it, but I can't remember who it was. If you know who, please drop it in the comments. But if you are shedding a skin, usually the skin gets stuck on the most tender parts, right? And if you're ripping it off of those tender parts, then you're causing a bigger wound. And so the idea is to allow that skin to like slough off naturally. And that itself can be a really painful process, or maybe a frustrating process. And that kind of feels like that's what's happening here. And I'm getting these indications of like activity, like your phone going off, or like a message coming through, I suppose. And that here is what I'm seeing kind of come through as like, you know, there's a bit of communication that finally allows you to see something for what it truly is, you know? And that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole chapter is closing, but it does certainly mean that a very important part of a chapter, it like, I guess it's not the whole book, right? But a very important chapter is wrapping up, right? There's something here that allows you to finally like get it off of a tender part, get that dead skin off of a more tender area, so that, you know, and this is another quote from that video that I can't remember who, but those legs can emerge and you can take off running when Saturn and Neptune finally move into Aries. Like there's something here. It needs to be like that final push, it's like the last hurrah, you know, that last thing. And then the World and the Empress is just so clear that it's in your favor. What is the opportunity? Okay. The Queen of Wands is the opportunity. There's a sense of leadership here. We have the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands present. So it's not just any kind of opportunity, you know. Three of Cups reversed, Two of Swords. It's not just any kind of opportunity. It's an opportunity that I think is, it's something that seems to be really heart-centered, that may or may not have to do with your finances, but there certainly does have to do with other people in those relationships kind of moving with a level of trepidation, or moving with higher discernment, because it must have something to do with this card here and that Three of Swords and the Hermit, right? So it's kind of like we're getting a very clear vision on who, what, when, where, why, that was required for you to move forward, I guess, without this, you know, without this kind of like, yeah, this is something that is like, when we're not moving with integrity or authenticity, this is what takes place. So maybe this is you, or maybe another person is pulling this out of you. Maybe this is something that exists in the environment, but this here is what is being brought to an end, right? Ace of Swords coming out here, a new way of looking at things, a new mindset emerging about a group of people. This is so like clearly, like this is very like to the T in terms of like mundane astrology. You know, you're looking out at a group of people, and maybe you're taking action or shifting your mindset on an entire group of people. And then on a more personal note, right, it's like you can look at where Capricorn and Aquarius are in your life, but it's like whatever systems or ideologies or like social dynamics are taking place in that area of your life, whatever is going on there, that is creating those dysfunctions that have existed up until now, or up until the near future from when you're seeing this, they're being torn down so that new mindset, because it's like those things were rotten as they were. So like that Ace of Swords is offering like, hey, there's a new way to think about this, and that new way of thinking is paving the way for a new way of speaking, and thus paving the way for a new form of expression, and potentially like monetary, like the way that you earn money here, the way that you express yourself, the way that you work, right? We have the Six of Swords and the Chariot with the Six of Wands and the Eight of Wands. It's a very healing time because the Tower needed to fall, right? And I don't have the Tower here, but it definitely needed to fall. There's definitely one falling, right? King of Cups, Death, Four of Pentacles. playing your cards wisely. A while ago I said know when to hold them, know when to fold them.